Hey, this is Brindle Wolf.
And I'm Lunaria.
You're listening to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise awakening, hear the call, through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken in life. Rise awakening, now is the time.
Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.
Feel the hum beneath your skin, a pulse of light, let it begin. The night dissolves, the day will spin. Rise awakenings, hear the call, through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken, climb. Rise awakenings, now is the time. Echoes bloom, they bend and glide, a signal surging deep inside. From shadows grip, we rise and rise. Tune the whispers, find your way. Tomorrow starts with sound today. Rise away. Start with the quiet parts, the things you hide behind your laugh. Sit with the ache a while. Let every question breathe and ask, who was I trying to be? Who am I when I just stay? Name every tender scar and let them have their say. This is the blue from the soil of your sorrow, petals from pain, new color in tomorrow. You walk through the dark with a soft, steady truth, holding your heart till your heart carries you. This is the blue.
Pages of old beliefs, stories that kept you playing small. Lay them out on the floor, see which ones never fit at all. Offer your younger self a kindness you never knew. Whisper you're safe with me and feel it turning true. This is the blue.
Happy Monday, everyone! Welcome, and welcome to the premiere of our Embers of Light YouTube and Rise Radio Network on Twitch. We shifted everything over, or we, like I'm involved. No, this is all Micah and Carrie, 100%, mostly Micah. So thank you both for leveling up Rise Radio. And we're off to a new adventure today. But before we do so, of course, there's the whole disclaimer thingy. If you're new here, don't forget this content is shared based on my own personal experience and the knowledge that I've gained in my own educational and healing journeys. And so the information is shared always in the greatest degree of love and is intended to resonate with whomever it may. And I hope it helps in your healing journey. And feel free to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I will get to the chat questions in the order in which they are received, and we'll get to as many as time allows. And thank you, Micah, again, for every effort that you put into making this come to life and leveling it up and doing all those behind the scenes things. Don't forget, this is a judgment-free, safe space. And if you feel called to dive in a little bit deeper, you can find me on healingrose.org. I have all of my things that I am on there, and I am a 501c3 nonprofit affiliate chapel. Let us dive into, this is going to be a lovely topic. We're talking about validation today. Validation to me is something that's kind of underneath almost everything that we experience in our relationships. And it's sounds simple, but it's really not. So we're going to play our own game of put a finger down. Are we ready? Let's go. Put a finger down if you've ever felt misunderstood. Put a finger down if you ever wanted to truly be seen. Put a finger down if you've ever felt like your feelings were dismissed. Put a finger down if you've ever stayed quiet to keep the peace. Put a finger down if you've ever questioned your own feelings. Put a finger down if you ever felt like you were too much or too little. Put a finger down if you ever needed comfort but didn't know how to ask. Ooh, that's a big one. Put a finger down if you ever felt seen or unseen in a relationship. Mostly unseen. Put a finger down if you ever longed for someone to say, I understand you and I see you. So we can also ask ourselves now to put a finger down if we are learning to honor our feelings. Put a finger down if we are healing. And put a finger down if we are trying to implement new thought patterns and behaviors. Good. That's why you're here. Let's talk about it. So it's not the validation that we chase through achievement and to get approval, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I really more want to focus on the kind that says, I see you, I hear you, and you make sense. That kind of validation. Because if we're really honest, so much of our pain and so much of our conflicts comes from that one place of not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not feeling understood, right? But how do we, let's work on this. Let's go dive a little deeper. It's validation to me is a lot of times misunderstood in this world. Like people think that it's agreeing with somebody. We're taught, basically, it's not that people think, we're taught that it's like agreeing with somebody, that we have to approve of people's behaviors, telling people that they're right. That's not really validation. Okay, that's people pleasing and whatever. It's simply acknowledging someone's emotional experience as real and understandable. And it sounds something like, well, that makes sense. I can see how you'd feel that way. And that sounds really hard, right? Doesn't that feel different? Because what you're really saying underneath those statements is your inner world matters to someone. And how many of us need to feel that? How many of us need to feel like our inner world freaking matters to someone, right? We're still human, even though we don't need, we're still human beings. So we kind of do. We crave validation. Every human being on the planet craves validation. We have a deep nervous system level of need to feel heard, to feel safe in that connection. Validation is one of the fastest ways to create safety in a relationship. Think about it, right? When you're upset, overwhelmed, and hurting, what do you want first? You really want advice? No, you don't. No. Nobody wants to know that. When we're feeling that way in that moment, we want somebody to say, like, I get you. I see you. I understand what you're feeling right now. That's what really we want underneath it all. Okay. We don't want to feel defensive and dismissed and silenced and our pain is too hard for somebody. That's kind of lonely and isolating, isn't it? Right. So let's talk about validation. Validation softens the armor. Okay. And it's the moment where everything changes. Every interaction can go one of two directions: escalate or connect. Validation is often the one thing that makes the biggest difference. Okay. When someone feels invalidated, they push harder, right? We start to over explain ourselves. We start to be more defensive. We start to shut down or lash out, right? When we're feeling unheard, it gets, woo! It could go wrong. But when we help someone feel validated, their body relaxes, their tone softens, their heart opens up, right? Not because the problem's solved, we still need to fix it. But in that moment, we're not in that fight or flight as much as we were a minute ago because we felt like, oh, someone heard me. Someone understood me. I no longer feel like I'm isolated and alone, right? That's, we're taught to fix. I think this also requires us to talk about it. We're taught to fix, not to validate. That's a programming that's deeply conditioned because we're a society of productivity. Okay. We're taught to solve problems, give advice, make things better. But that's not healthy either because we're missing something very, very valid and very, very important. Because the truth is, the fixing steps over and skips the heart-centered space where the emotion is coming from to begin with. And validation meets everyone at their heart, including ourselves. Okay. When we meet someone that says that we're truly struggling and we say, well, have you tried this? Oh my God. It doesn't help the situation, right? It makes it worse for them. So let's instead say things like, that sounds really heavy. I'm here for you. I can understand why you could feel overwhelmed by all of this. And then pause. Just let that person take a minute to receive that validation because it's really rare. And so it's going to need a minute to sink in. And let their nervous system receive that for a moment. Okay? Sometimes the most healing thing that we can do for people is not to solve anything in that moment, but to sit in it. And sometimes that sitting in it looks like nothing, looks like quiet, looks like just sitting there and allowing space and permission for the person to be in their fullest, right? Now let's talk about the most important validation there is. Self-validation, okay? Many of us seek external validation, don't we? Right? We want to agree, we want to reassure, we want to know we're okay. We want people to make us feel like we're acceptable and palatable. We want people to make us feel like we're not crazy and we're right. That's what we seek when we're not validating ourselves. What does that look like in the practical world? Victimhood mentality, where you're constantly trying to prove yourself to people and explain your circumstances and what happened to you over and over again because you don't feel seen, heard, understood, etc. You're misunderstood a lot. So we also engage in escapism, right? Because we're we're feeling very alone and isolated because nobody understands us, quote, unquote. So we need to give ourselves permission to validate ourselves first. Okay. So we can do that by saying things like, this feeling is real to ourselves. Okay. It makes sense that I feel this way. Can we tell ourselves, please, that it makes sense that things feel this way? Because we have to degaslight ourselves, right? We invalidate and degaslight ourselves because we're not getting it from the outside, and we're also not validating ourselves. So to validate ourselves, it makes sense that I feel this way. Okay. Here's another one. I give myself permission to honor my emotions. You don't need permission to honor your own emotions. Nobody's got to give you permission for that. You get to decide that. So speak the affirmations. I don't need permission to honor my own emotions, or I give myself permission to honor my own emotions, because when we learn to validate ourselves, we become less dependent on others to feel okay, and more capable of showing up with love towards others, because we are embodying it ourselves through our own self-validation. Okay. Now there's plenty of places where we need healthy validation that's, for approval and achievements and stuff like that. Like, say, in our professional worlds, we need our bosses to tell us we're doing a good job, right? So that we know that we're on track and we're meeting deadlines and we're doing what we need to do, and the boss is happy with our work. Otherwise, it's just going to feel very unfulfilling and unappreciated, unappreciated. And that's not good for morale at the office. So you need that kind of external validation for your efforts and your intellectual property in the professional settings. What about with friendships, right? You need to validate each other. You need to feel validated by your friends, not attacked, not questioned. That's not really a friend. That's painful, but that's how we're all taught. So speak up for yourself with your friends so that they also can evolve if they choose. So teaching them validation by being validating towards them is how you lead by example in the dynamics where someone hasn't quite learned it yet. Like, we all have those friends in our lives, or had, if we didn't already eliminate those friends in our lives that were like, made you feel cringe, but they're great in so many different ways. And, things are fun and whatever, but your emotional needs were not being met. So I think it's very important to reevaluate friendships in that way too, and make sure that there's healthy validation happening in both directions amongst your friendships, your family relationships, whatever relationships that you have. Okay. And validation towards strangers, if you want, because we're going to get into the part where validation is also love, and showing up as someone who validates people is loving. So, like, whenever you're out and about in the world and you see someone going through something, it's could also be very healing for them. Like, say, grocery store cashier. Let's be very general here, but that's a really great one, because how many times have we gone through the grocery store line and the cashier is overwhelmed, discombobulated, and maybe looks like they're having a bad day, right? We've all witnessed it. The fastest way to help soften and change their entire trajectory of their day is to say, wow, it looks like you've been really busy today. You're doing a great job. Just you're getting through it. You're almost going to be done. You're a step closer to being done for the day. Saying something, acknowledge someone when you notice something's off. It may not be as well received. Maybe like, oh, you might get, it doesn't matter. You soften them. They have to let themselves receive it. Okay? They're still going to reflect on it later and be like, well, there was that one person that thought I was having a rough day, so maybe I'm not crazy, and maybe I'm, you know what I'm saying? Just do it. Plant the seed of love. Love is validation. Okay. You don't have to prove yourself to me, those kinds of attitudes that is what you want to project. You don't want to fight to be seen, so somebody else doesn't want to fight to be seen. So when you show up in a manner that makes people feel like they don't need to fight to be seen. That they're worthy of being understood. Okay. Just show up for people in a way that tells them they're accepted. When we give to someone, we create space where healing becomes possible for everyone. Not because we fixed them or gave them advice, but because we met them where they were at in that moment without absorbing. All you empaths, no absorbing. We're not absorbing. We're standing by and holding space and validating. Okay. So today we are inviting each other to carry with us the thoughts that before we respond, before we fix, and before we explain, we pause. Can I validate this person in front of me right now? Can I validate myself right now when I'm triggered, right? Especially when you're triggered. We got to pause ourselves and give ourselves a moment to relax our nervous system with that self-validation. Yes, I'm feeling this right now. Yes, I don't like the way this feels. Let me validate myself how I'm feeling right now and then address the analytics, meaning, is this appropriate for this circumstance in this person, or is this circumstance and person reminding me of something that hurt me a long time ago but isn't really valid now? So like, acknowledge yourself regardless, period, because you have this coming up for you. And that's really helpful in the self-discovery process. That's really helpful for conscious awareness of self. And here's the most important piece that I want you to take away. It helps you believe in yourself. It helps you believe in yourself when you validate your own feelings. Okay? So, validation is the bridge. I want you to remember that. It's the bridge between disconnection and understanding, including towards yourself. It's the bridge between tension and tenderness, including toward how you treat yourself. It's the bridge between surviving and truly connecting, not just with yourself, but with others around you. So maybe the greatest gift we can actually give each other is a simple, I see you. Let's talk about it. I know y'all got tons of examples of how you've been invalidated in life. Who's got a question, or who wants to share what's happening here? Let's see what we got. We've got, I have to, Bubble Kitten, Stephanie, thank you. Stephanie is our one of the managers of the station. I forgot what, manage the chats or something. But she's on the team here for Embers of Light. So thank you. I have to use rideshare for my doc visits, and it's crazy how many people are shocked when I tell them I appreciate them and what they do, especially the ones from other countries. Right. Oh my gosh. It's so simple. It's so simple how we can change the entire trajectory of someone's experience that day just by a simple acknowledgement, and making them feel like what they're doing is important, making them feel like they are important. Yes, Cynthia, saving space for them. Well, let's talk about saving space and holding space for someone, and especially for ourselves. I want to start with the self, because the self-validation requires that we hold space for ourselves to validate. So thank you for bringing that up, Cynthia. Holding space for ourselves first looks like allowing ourselves to have that emotion that comes up. We have that emotion for a reason. Our nervous system is recognizing something that alerted us, right? When it comes to the triggers. Let us validate that we're experiencing what we're experiencing so that we stop gaslighting ourselves and stop manipulating ourselves into believing that we're not worthy of having those kinds of feelings. A lot of those programming, both sides of the coin, all levels of any spectrum you can put on, society is structured where we do not validate, period. Flip the script. Start with the self. Holding space is the way to start. Allowing permission for yourself to have those feelings, acknowledging them, not gaslighting yourself, not telling yourself you shouldn't be, shouldn't, could, no, shame, shame. No, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to validate what we're feeling with no judgment at all. A safe space, that holding space has to be safe, and that means no judgment of yourself. So just let yourself go ahead and validate yourself. Okay? To validate, to hold space for someone outside of you, understand what their needs are. And at the core of everyone's emotional turmoil is that desire to feel understood and seen and heard. That's the very, very, very first step in any situation that will help bring about the productive conversation that may lead to later with the fix it part. Okay? Thank you for saying that, Cynthia. Yes. Look, you just validated Cynthia. Look at, and Cynthia just validated you. You both validated each other just without even knowing it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Bubble Kitten says it feels weird when someone says they understand and I'm actually heard and understood. Exactly. I don't know how to react when that happens. Right. You have to give yourself a moment to receive it. It's so true. Yes, at first you're going to confuse it for patronizing. Absolutely, but you have to evaluate, allow yourself to receive it and evaluate who it's coming from. Right? So all of this is spot on. You have to evaluate. Okay. And I should clarify, it's Rise Radio Networks, but Embers of Light is just the platform where you can go find everything that's Rise Radio. So thank you for, calling out my whatever's coming out my mouth that ain't working right. Bubble Kitten says, I used to think that if other people didn't acknowledge what I did or said, I was failing. I have been learning that that's not true. It's a hard lesson. Heck yeah. Let's sit with that one. Okay, I know I didn't finish the holding space for others, but let's hold space for this right now and we'll just do it right now and show it. That is one of the hardest things to allow yourself to believe about, to validate validating yourself is what's necessary in order to understand that you don't need the external validation and you're not failing. The validation that you give yourself helps you believe yourself so that you know for a fact you're not failing. Okay. And there is no failure. There's only lessons. Okay. There's this space that you create for yourself that allows you to hold space for yourself in a way that maintains your sovereignty, maintains your self-worth. You're giving yourself permission to maintain your self-worth. That is amazing. And I am so proud of you because that is one of the hardest things to wrap your head around. And you did it. Go Bubble Kittens. Great job. For real. And it does feel like you're getting placated. You're getting patronized. Because that's what we're used to. We're used to people's sarcasm. There's a level of sarcasm that comes with that placation and patronization, right? And that disingenuous energy that comes with it. You're highly intuitive folks. You're highly empathic folks. How does it feel? Okay. Your producer is a long-term expert of needing validation for existing. You know what, Micah? We all are. We all are. Gosh, we need healthy validation. That's important to us. It is important to validate each other in a healthy and loving way. That validation is love. We need validation as human beings. We're taught unhealthy validation. That's what we need to unlearn. So we're going to unlearn the unhealthy validation and we're going to learn healthy validation because that is going to be the root of what helps us believe in ourselves. And this is what I teach when I teach self-mastery. These are the little details of, well, how do I don't know how to believe myself. It's not just affirmations. Are we validating our own emotions? Or are we dismissive of ourselves the way we were constantly dismissed by everyone else? Big question, big homework, big, keep doing the work that you're doing. keep doing the healing that you're doing. Lenaria says, we do, but we also need to learn that when we don't get it, it doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong. That's right. There is no failure. It's not that we're doing something wrong. It's that we're learning what doesn't resonate with us, because what is wrong? It's subjective, isn't it? Culturally speaking, across the globe, there's right and wrong that contradicts cultures. So what did you learn? What feels right in your heart? Does it feel like you're a failure, or does it feel like this doesn't resonate with me and I'm pushing something and I'm forcing something that doesn't fit me? That's how you flip the script in your mind. Validate your feelings so that you can come to that conclusion. Okay. And Cynthia says, as an empathic person, the hardest part was taking a beat before blabbering over others. Yes. That's that pause button that we talk about. None of this self-mastery work is easy. It is a lot of effort in the beginning until we create those new habits. And especially as empathic persons, because we know more than they do about themselves sometimes. That's a weird statement. We're feeling it from them. So we're picking up on energies that, and then what we end up doing by mistake, empathic people pleasers, is internalizing that. Instead of validating ourselves in our sovereignty and solidity with ourselves and acknowledging, this isn't my emotion, this is theirs. How can I help them feel validated and heard and understood? So when we experience stuff like that as empathic people, taking that pause is paramount to give us ourselves that space so that we can respond in a way that catches what they're trying to tell us or how they're feeling. Are they feeling unseen? Are they feeling unheard? Are they not feeling believed by anyone and trying to prove themselves? That's what we can then hang on to and jump in with and, pause them with. Every human being is empathic, but not every human being is consciously aware of their own empathic abilities. That's the issue. So when you're dealing with folks who don't know that they're also empathic, they're a mess for that reason, because they're not separating themselves from other people's emotions. So you guys are ahead of the game because you're already on that path of figuring that part out. Bubble Kitten says, I was told to be quiet and be seen, not heard for so long and from so many that it made me think what I did and said didn't matter. It affected my self-worth and self-image. Stephanie, I feel that way too, and I felt that way too. That's exactly how I was raised as well, especially in the culture that I was raised in. Kids were just property and free labor and just to be seen and not heard. They weren't allowed to interfere with anything or create any kind of chaos, or which chaos to a parent who doesn't want their kid to be to be heard, is much like don't play, don't be a child, don't express yourself, don't be who you are. And the message that it brings home in our hearts is you're not worth being acknowledged. That's what it does. It makes you feel like there's something eternally wrong with you and inherently wrong with you. That's what it makes you feel like. That is so unhealthy. And that's the old way of being. That's generational. That's cultural. That's societal. That's a systemic issue. So we in this group are shifting the script with the healing work that we do and learning how to show up differently, not just for ourselves. It starts with ourselves so that we can show up differently out there in the world, right? You don't have to fight to be seen. Thank you, Micah. You don't have to fight to be seen. You see yourself and you love and accept yourself fully and completely without judgment, shame, or punishment. And you will have the capability of showing up for others in a way that makes them feel as seen as you made yourself feel. Then you start to attract people who validate the heck out of you. You need to attract those people to you, okay? The folks who are not going to be attracted to that are still on their own healing journey at whatever stage they're at, and possibly incapable of actually receiving that. But do not dismiss the power of planting seeds. Bubble Kitten says she was raised Italian and German and Irish households, where the world, so to say, thinking was what was taught. Exactly. I still have very low self-worth and self-image, but you're getting better and better every day, as Micah tells us and reminds us. I'm off. My parents are off the boat Italians, so I'm first generation American. So I was basically raised like an Italian kid. I didn't even learn the Itsy Bitsy Spider until I was in college. You know, I know what you mean. Now, that being said, let's break that apart, because what that acknowledgement, we're not the only ones with that acknowledgement. The reality is what we were saying before, it's systemic. Think about the times. Think about how old we are. Think about where we're at in our life right now. And I'm saying this directly to Stephanie because I think we're kind of the same generation-ish, Generation X. That whole area was post World War II mentality of parenting, where there's lack. Fear created safety. Fear created safety. If you were heard, you died. Let's put that into perspective for the time period of when that was really enforced as a parenting style that got carried on generationally, where it no longer applies. So let that sit in for your healing journey, and be gentle with yourself when you're processing that your lack of self-worth and self-image is directly proportional to a state of being and existing that no longer exists, that's outdated, and that doesn't apply to who you are, and didn't really apply to who you are as a human being, and didn't apply to who you are as a person and your character. It applied to the circumstances surrounding. And don't forget, image mattered way more than like a specific image, the image that you're expected to be. There was demands and expectations and judgments on you for a reason at those times. Okay? So understand that now it's a whole different world, and any of that stuff that you learned is kind of null and void, I'm going to say. So you give yourself a clean slate and decide, trash all that crap, set it in the dumpster and put it on fire, and just let it burn. Because at the end of the day, you decide how you feel about yourself. You decide who you are. And that's true for all of us. This is why the self-validation is the most important piece of that pause. If we don't validate how we feel, we can't move forward. Okay? You are already worthy of being understood. You really are. Okay? You are understood by so many. Don't seek external validation from arenas and individuals that don't have the capacity that you do. Your capacity is based on your conscious awareness of yourself and the level that you're healing, correct? Don't seek validation from individuals who cannot meet themselves as deeply as you've met yourself. Okay? You got to trust yourself and trust how you're feeling. Cynthia said, learning to be gentle with myself and breathing can be hard. Rewiring in the process. Yeah. Yes. And let's talk about the breathing. The breathing is in the heart chakra, right? Our breath, without our breath, we don't have life. Breath is life. So let us remember that most of us in survival mode hold our breath, and we hold that tension. And when we breathe into our heart-centered space and focus on that breathing, we allow ourselves to soften. We bring ourselves back into a parasympathetic state. We regulate our heart rate. We slow our breathing, right? We bring our conscious awareness into our heart center. Okay. And there's plenty of breathing techniques out there for us to play with in our own healing journey, because each breathing technique creates different physiological effects and neurological effects, assisting the brain to rewire. Cynthia, since you mentioned rewiring your brain, that reminds me of something that I learned from Joe Dispenza. This breathing technique where on the slow inhale, think of like a regular slow breath in, hold for a beat, slow breath out. However, on the inhale, we're going to contract the root and sacral muscles. And if you don't know which muscles they are the muscles that you use for defecation and for intercourse, the reproductive muscles and the lower digestive system muscles. Those are the muscles that you're going to contract on the inhale. When you pause, you're still contracted. It's on the exhale that you slowly release the tension and relax all of those muscles, slowly, controlled. There's a reason for that. Do that several times in a row, and you're going to feel your spinal fluid go all the way up your spine and into your brain, and it's going to feel a little tingly on your brain because you are actively releasing all of the happy hormones and chemicals that your body needs to help your generate new brain cells firing each other and generate new cells. It is literally releasing all the body chemicals that you need in your brain to help the rest of your body and heal and your brain heal. Okay. That's one of my favorite breathing techniques because I love the way it feels. So why do we seek validation from the most toxic people in our lives? Because we grew up in toxicity and it's familiar. And all we want is to seek approval from the people that raised us, from our origin families, whatever dynamic that looks like. Adopted, grandparents, don't matter. Origin family, the people you grew up with, the people who raised you from birth, or multiple people that raised you from birth. All we're trying to do is gain approval, win approval from those people. And we're trying to do that in the relationships that are toxic that are reflective of that. Okay. And Heather says, yet those are the people we always seem to want validation from the most. That's right. That's right. It stems from the root of that is seeking validation from the folks who don't have the capacity to validate us. So when we remind ourselves they don't have the capacity to remind us, to validate us, then you at least remind yourself that, oh, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we're not needing their validation, because how can they validate me if they can't reach me? They're not resonating with me. We're not aligned. We're on different planets. We ain't even on never mind the same frequency. We ain't even on the same planet, right? We have to tell ourselves we don't need their permission or their validation. They're not our people. We can move forward. They're stuck wherever they're at. Their conscious level of awareness of themselves and their healing journey is their own. We don't have to be aligned. It's time to move on. Bubble Kitten says, I think one reason I over-explain things is I never felt heard or seen or that I mattered. That's exactly why you over-explain things. It's exactly why. You nailed it. That's at the core of it. Not feeling seen or heard or understood is at the core of all of that people pleaser, victimhood, explaining yourself, proving yourself, speaking that comes out when you're over explaining yourself. It's like, why do you need to prove yourself to somebody? Now, in certain circumstances, explaining yourself to add context for an individual to learn your needs and where you're feeling, that's different. Okay? But trying to over-explain to individuals who really you don't need their approval or validation is unhealthy. Where we got? Hatherry says, but when those people do the work on themselves and they inevitably come around and realize you're awesome, it's a good moment. Yeah. Absolutely. If they come around. Not everyone does, unfortunately, but yes. It feels like such a weight lifted off. It feels so much lighter when you feel that, like, oh shit, wow. And then you see them in a different light. Now all of a sudden a little bit more respect comes back because you kind of lost respect for them, right? Think about that. I know you do. So it does. Yes, big if. Yes. And yes, waiting 40 years for it makes it certainly feel a lot sweeter. And Cynthia says, I stopped seeking validation from my parents and siblings, and I am me and proud of myself. Oh, I'm proud of you too. That's where you need to be at. Just Maintain that sovereignty because you deserve to be proud of yourself for all your own personal accomplishments. Remember, many of us are still stuck in a system that's broken. And I say us as in like the collective, everybody, okay? Everybody in your world, everybody in the world. Many of us are stuck on old belief systems that we, this group, and many others like us on this journey, understand don't fit. We're breaking that norm, which is not normal. It's unhealthy and it's toxic. That's not okay. We're the ones who are creating the new normal in the world. So with great power comes great responsibility. So that's why we got to love ourselves first. And why Micah, Carrie, and I are always like, love yourself. Let's see, what else do we got? We've got. Bubble Kitten says, I've had a moment last night where I had to take a moment and breathe, and I felt worthless and ugly and not worth air. Oh my God, that's so right. This is perfect timing. I'm so glad, Bubble Kittens. I went through that in December, for real. I seriously had a moment where I was just like, this happens to us. Our lives are cyclical. There's a lot going on energetically, planetarily, astrologically, and in the world, period. So we're sensing so many emotional variations from everything and everyone around us as well, including our own healing journey. So not only are we healing, but we're trying to discern what's part of our own healing and what's not. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you respond to it and you feel it, validate what it is that you're feeling, and then allow yourself to decide, I don't want to feel this way. And this is not really how I feel about myself. Because and ask yourself, is that really true? Why would that be true? That doesn't make sense. So talk to yourself in that way of validating it's okay to feel worthless and whatever else you feel in that moment, because that moment is making you aware of something that requires your attention and your love. That validation as love towards ourselves is crucial in these moments. So today your homework is going to be loving and validating yourself. Validate the crap out of yourself. Your homework is mirror work. You're going to do some mirror work today. And when you speak to yourself softly and gently. Okay? Validate yourself softly and gently, with patience, with kindness, with compassion. No judgment, no shame, just love. And I want you to focus, start with one body part or one thought pattern or one circumstance in your life, and give extreme amounts of love to that. Use the breathing. Breathe into your heart-centered space and hyper focus on that one thing. And that's at the root of what you're feeling. And feed it love, feed it affirmations, feed it kindness, feed it gentleness. Okay, that's validate. Validate yourself lovingly. Okay, and you're going to be okay. You don't need permission from anybody to validate yourself. It's Hallery says it's validating when we realize that most of us are feeling it too. Yes, that's why I did the put a finger down exercise, because I can guarantee you every one of us put fingers down for all of it. So yes, you're not alone. We're not alone. We end up isolating ourselves because we were taught to be ashamed of having these feelings. Heck no. I went through that in December. You know, for the first time in a long time, there was suicidal ideation that came up for me. And I'm like, what the heck is going on with me? Something's really off with me. What is it? Let's sit with it. I held space for myself. I did what I need to do. I grieved. I raged. I did exactly what I needed to do, which was at the root of what was coming up for me. Okay, so hold space for yourself to walk through that lovingly. And we made it. We all made it. We all made it. We're all making it now. We're still doing it. Hallery says hyper focus. That's why the breathing technique helps us with the hyper focus. Learning to validate yourself and feelings can help maintain healthy honesty so you don't have to ask anyone not to lie to me. Woo! That's going to be amazing on Phoenix Talks on Wednesday. Who are we pretending to be? Wait till you hear the song. It's amazing. This is going to be such a good Phoenix Talks, and this is perfect follow-up for this validation stuff. But yes, absolutely. Let's see. What do we got? We got nose, hands, feet. Okay. So when we're addressing ourselves, yes, anyone else who says it exactly, we're all in the same boat. And I think that when we address ourselves, we need to remind myself, remind yourself, remind each other, we're not alone. Okay. So when you're looking in the mirror, remind yourself, I'm not alone. Others feel what I feel. I do the work that I do because I know others feel what I feel. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any work. Others feel what I feel, and I know how to tell them to help themselves. So we work together as a team to heal on this journey because we're not alone. We're meant to be together in connection as human beings, which I know we talked about at a previous, the Bloom. I was going to say Sunday Circle. The Bloom. And welcome back. We're all connected. Welcome back, Mike. I know you had a little, it's okay. We're still here. We didn't go anywhere. Yes, I am. Oh my God, it's that time. I am ready for the teaser. So listen to this teaser and then catch us on all the shows coming up. Messengers tonight. Tomorrow there's Brindle's Vision, and I forgot what else. I'm sorry. Phoenix Talks on Wednesday, The Core Thursday, and Lunaria on Friday. And I might be missing something. Sorry. Go check out Embers of Light. It's on there.
There's a feeling, it lies deep inside.
Knowing something changed, a reality inside.
Tell me everything is fine. Life left you wary. The distance that's growing has become a bit scary.
I see the change in your eyes, the cracks in your smile.
Feeling something's different, holding back for a while. But you lies in me, hiding on free.
Can't wait for the show. That's going to be amazing. Oh, it's fire. I love all this flame, this fire. Let's stoke the fires of our own self-belief and self-love and go validate yourself. I love you so much. Find me on healingrose.org, on all the socials, which is on Embers of Light at riseradionetworks.com. I love you all so much. Yay. There I am. There it is. That's my website with my booking stuff. And find me on the other stuff. And for now, I love y'all. You're the bestest. And have an amazing day. Go do your homework.
The stars are blue from the soil of your sorrow. Petals from pain, new color in tomorrow. You walk through the dark with a soft, steady truth, holding your heart till your heart carries you. This is the blue.
Hey, this is Brindle Wolf.
And I'm Lunaria.
You're listening to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise awakening, hear the call. Through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken. Fly. Rise awakening, now is the time.
Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.